gonna just hang out. What do you think? You wanna say hi to the people? Say hi to the people. Hi, everybody. Hi. God, it's been ages since we've been in this spot. We have done like 1,000 videos here, and by 1,000 I mean make 100, but yeah, these are the old confines. Today I'm here to talk to you about the top 10 books of 2022, at least for me. These are in no particular order. Number 1, although not number 1 because we don't pick favorites, The Extraordinary Education of Nicholas Benedict by Trenton Lee Stewart. If you have any familiarity with the Mysterious Benedict Society series, then you will know that the main adult figure in the Mysterious Benedict Society is Nicholas Benedict. We meet him when he's, I don't know if we really get an age, it's like 50s. This goes back in time to when he is a kid, when he is in a boarding school. He has always been my favorite character of all the characters in the trilogy, so getting a backstory on him was just, first of all, so fun, and second of all, I just loved the way that it truly developed so much of the way that he interacts with the kids of the original series. So I've never read a book with a narcoleptic main character before. Now I would say this is like a middle grade read, but I'm a full 23 years old and I just ate it up. There's like a certain level of dark academia to it, I guess. It's set in a orphanage / boarding school. I don't know how much school is happening, but a main driver of the main character is that he just loves books and learning. So if that's something you're into. Next, Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. Hopefully I pronounced that right. What can I say that hasn't already been said about this book? It is just the queer love story, an incredible queer fantasy, deep lore, crazy twist, just honestly everything you would want in a good fantasy novel. It has a deep amount of world building without leaving you feeling unmoored and helpless, which I feel like is a line that a lot of fantasy novels really struggle to strike. Next, I read Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. You may recognize this name. She wrote, is it Eat, Pray, Love? I think. Yeah, like super, which was huge, especially in like the 2000s. I had never read Eat, Pray, Love. I read it after I read this book, and honestly, I didn't love Eat, Pray, Love, but I loved Big Magic. It revolutionized my approach to art, to creativity, to like making things, what I expect from myself, what I expect from the things that I make, how I approach the creative process. There was this really good line. You know I love a line, so I've always felt like this is so cruel to your work, to demand a regular paycheck from it, as if creativity were a government job or a trust fund. Next, Babel, we're going with Babel. Babel, The Necessity of Violence by R.F. Kuang of the Poppy Wars. Guys, I ate this book up like I was a starving person and it was the last piece of food on earth. I've been looking forward to this for ages. I'd seen her character art for the characters on Twitter maybe 2019 and had been eagerly looking forward to it ever since. Well worth the wait, I have to say. So good. This is one of those books that you start and then you just can't stop. I was up the whole night reading it. It was like 4 a.m. and I closed it and I was like, I don't regret anything. I would redo the same. I would make this decision again. It seems like the author's way of reconciling herself to being a part of a toxic system. So R.F. Kuang is someone who is in academia. And this book was a lot about being in love with academia and also knowing that it's wrong and it hurts, and that it is a system that's fundamentally fucked. And that dichotomy was fascinating to me to read, especially as someone who spent so much time in academia. Just awesome, for real. So there's a couple of parts in this book where I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Sometimes points are being made or themes are being addressed where I'm like, I think this is being painted with too wide of a brush, or I don't know if I agree with that. but I didn't feel that that took away from my reading experience, and I still recommended this to everyone I knew. So if you haven't read Babel yet, you should. Next, this is like a series favorite, so like more of a broad thing. The Vampire Knitting Club series by Nancy Warren. Guys, I've talked about this probably every reading video I've made for the last 3 years at this point. I did a re-listen to all of the audiobooks in like August, September time when I was getting ready to move back from Scotland. I was doing a lot of knitting at that time, and I would just put on one of the audiobooks and just knit my little heart out. And guys, it was awesome. It was awesome. I really love how comforting and warm and soft these books are, how approachable they are, how there is enough conflict for me to be engaged but not enough for me to be stressed. I always know that things are going to be fine, and that is so important, especially in like a cozy mystery book, which is something I've been getting really into. So again, getting on my soapbox for this yet again. If you haven't read the Vampire Knitting Club series yet, you should. Especially the audiobooks. They're all on my Libby. They might be on yours. And so good. There's a new one that just came out. I think the 13th book. It's like Mosaics and Magic, I think. I'll pop it up there. I haven't gotten my hands on it yet, but I've been dying to. So I'll keep you updated on that. Next, I read The Appeal by Janice Hallett. Y'all, an awesome thriller, told in an epistolary style. It's mostly emails, some court documents, some text messages, and it is such a good, it feels very like, I won't say Agatha Christie because I don't know if it gives that vibe, but in this, it kind of like, the way that Christie does a lot of like, anybody could have done it. There's so many suspects and everybody has a motive. This book has that. It's a real page turner. I was reading it in like dribs and drabs and stops and starts, and then I sat down and I was again up all night reading it. And throughout the years, I think that's a consistent thing that's made it so that you get onto my list, is if I stay up all night reading it, it goes on the top 10 list. Definitely read The Appeal by Janice Hallett. I cannot believe this is her debut novel. Next, I read Marilyn Monroe, The Private Life of a Public Icon by Charles Cassillo. A documentary had been put out by Netflix about Marilyn Monroe, but I had heard that it had kind of done Marilyn a disservice. And so I was like, well, what's the real Marilyn? I want the real story. And this gave me the real story. It is an honest portrayal of Monroe as a complex human with multiple facets to her, rather than like just a sex object, or just like an actress, or just like a temptress. There's so many socio-political layers involved, class, disability. I think Monroe is fascinating, and honestly I would read 100 more books about her, but I feel like this one was a great way to get my feet wet. Next, Perfume, The Story of a Murderer by Patrick Suskind. Y'all, this was one of the most creepy skin crawly books I've read in a long time. Just basically the concept is that this guy is, I guess, how would you say, like a photographic memory for scents? He spends most of the book searching for this perfect virginal woman that he wants to acquire the scent of, and then, because he's a perfumer, he'll have acquired the best scent, and then he'll have met his purpose. Really interesting, very creepy, very weird. I definitely had a few dreams that I was like, oh yeah, I know where this imagery is from. But if you like creepy, crawly, spooky, scary weirdos, Perfume. Next, I read All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks really does just be hitting every single time. Every time I read from her, I find myself a bit more of a full person. There's such an amazing discussion of what a relationship is, what it should be, especially in terms of being in relationships with men, whether that be like a familial relationship, a romantic relationship, friendship. That is something that's so important in feminism, is to examine our relationships with men, and Bell Hooks does it again and again with discussing those with the care and courtesy that is required of it. So if you're in a weird place with the relationships, or if you're just looking to become a kinder, more understanding person, I do recommend All About Love. And finally, Last but not least, On Skein of Death by Ali Pleiter. I, as you can tell, was really on a cozy mystery kick this year for some reason. And after I finished the Vampire Knitting Club, I moved to this. This is the Riverbank Knitting Mystery series. It just perfectly scratched the itch of what I was missing when I finished the Vampire Knitting Club. Set in a knitting shop, mystery, murder, so well written, very funny, very evocative. I have tried quite a few of the knitting mystery books because there's a lot out there. Surprisingly, you wouldn't think there's as many out there as there are. I've tried a lot of them, and this one really stands up. I actually think, am I gonna say it? I think from a writing point of view, I prefer this series to the Vampire Knitting Club series. So if you like cozy mysteries, or if you like to read about knitting, or you like murder, read it. That was my big last huzzah. Wow, unimpressive, Catherine. Okay, yeah. So, those are the 10 books that I loved most in the year of 2022. That's such a weird year to say out loud. Can't believe that next year I'll be making a video that has 2023 in the title. Crazy. I hope you guys are doing really, really well. I hope you got some excellent book recommendations out of this video, and if you have any recommendations for me, please leave them down below. I am always looking for new books to just yum yum. That's all I have for you today. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.